Welcome to the details. Well, I'm sure you've heard in recent times some MPs and other political leaders calling for the retention of experienced members of parliament in the House. Well, this they believe will strengthen the capacity of parliament to pass good laws. While parliament is not the only area reserved for the adults, other positions in governance and our social life have also been seen widespread exclusion of young people who believe they are brimming with fresh ideas and ready to also participate in nation building. For instance, to even have the dream of becoming president of the nation, you'd have to wait till you're above 40 or older. And it will take many trials and attempts till you're old and you realize you'll run out of energy to do anything meaningful. That's why yesterday a forum for such young people was held in Accra to try and help boost their confidence in taking their pride of place. It was organized by Youth Bridge Foundation, and JoyNews' Kojo Yansen was there to interact with some of them.
It's been known for quite a while that the youth form the majority of Ghana's population. Those who are under the age of 35 make up over 70% of Ghana. Yet, the majority appears to be marginalized when it comes to leadership. One group has decided to do something about it. Youth Bridge Foundation today held a press conference here in Accra where they called on the youth to actually stand up and be counted and take up the responsibility of vying for parliamentary positions in the upcoming primaries of the major political parties. Let's try and understand what their motive is here and how they intend to see better representation of the youth in political leadership. Okay, so to help us get to grips with our issue today, Cornelia Opoku-Jimfi is the Assistant Legal and Advocacy Manager for Youth Bridge Foundation. She's here with Professor Ransford Jampo, who's the head of Youth Bridge Research Institute. Esther Yaira Atipo is the Legal and Advocacy Manager for Youth Bridge Foundation, and Nana Poku is a journalist. Good afternoon to you all. Right, so I want to start with you, Prof. Now, your statement was quite comprehensive. You were very adamant that you didn't want to be misunderstood as somebody who is speaking against people of age who are in politics, but you felt that there was a need for more representation of the youth. Let's be clear. Is anybody stopping young people from participating in politics?
Yes, I believe there are so many imponderable hurdles that tend to prevent young people from participating. You would agree with me that the politics of Ghana before independence, after independence, right up to before the inception of Ghana's Fourth Republic in 1992 was essentially the politics of the youth. They played key roles in getting regimes elected. They played key roles in actually participating in the governance of regimes, and they also played key roles in kicking out regimes that failed to protect or promote the fiduciary trust of the people. Now, with the inception of the Fourth Republic, politicians recognizing the huge and the strong role of young people, decided to do something to silence them. And what did they do? What they did was that, well, let's try and ensure that the teeming young people in the population are polarized on partisan grounds. And so, as I indicated earlier, if you go to the various campuses of the various tertiary institutions, what they said was, let's go there and establish our branches there. Once they went there to establish branches there, you had MPP branch, NDC branch, and it polarized them. And this polarization extended to other young people within the body politic, and that's one hindrance. Once you are polarized, you are unable to argue or constitute one constituency and fight for your rights or champion your own cause to play a frontal role in politics. Once they got polarized, they were confined to the role of vote getters. Just they are agents used to get votes, voting machines, food soldiers, and then also agents that are used to fight dirty political wars of politicians.
Now, but they've also spawned leaders, have they not? I mean, we have examples like Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Sami Awuku, Sam George, all of these who have come through
the entrance of these,
like these.
The entrance of these young people that you rightly mentioned into politics was purely accidental, and it's not because there was any deliberate effort aimed at empowering young people to get there. They just got there by accident. And so what we are seeking...
Not by their own efforts?
No, well, they did the effort and all that, but I'm saying that because there are several sociocultural and deliberate political tactics that are aimed at relegating them to the background, we should, as a nation, begin to rethink the role of the youth in playing substantive politics and being participants in the substantive governance process. And what happens, the cliche, the refrain has always been that if a young person wants to go to participate or contest in an election, you are told by the adults that, oh, bid your time, wait till your time comes. But they cannot wait in perpetuity.
Right.
Those who are adults and they are regarded as matured and experienced politicians, if you look at them, they started when they were young. But now, if you are young, you are wise enough to determine who must represent you, but you are not wise enough to participate in substantive governance. I think we cannot continue to allow the practice where the role of young people in politics is often seen as they serving as food soldiers and other playing dirty roles for the benefit of politicians. I think we cannot continue as a nation. And so we met here to call on the young people that, for starters, very soon there's going to be parliamentary primaries, and we urge them to participate in it. We called on the political parties to also deal with all the imponderable hurdles that frustrate young people and prevent them from participating in the primaries. And then we said that political parties that will fail to do this must be taught painful lessons. And what am I talking about? What we're talking about is that young people who are...
Esther, you are in charge of legal and advocacy. The suggestion here is that there are some legal impediments, right, to young people participating at the highest level of political leadership. We know that to be president, you have to be 40. Otherwise, forget it. But there are those who argue that this is just common sense. I mean, by 40, you have some exposure in life. And at the very least, to lead a nation, you need to understand what's happening in the world. Is it really that unfair for there to be an age limit for at least the role of president in Ghana?
Well, I would say that I am very much I have a lot of respect for the founders of our constitution and the brains that formed the spirit into the decisions that they make, informing that. But I feel that those decisions were made when it was relevant at that time to do so. We are in a global economy. We notice that things are evolving swiftly around us, and all over the world we see that there's a paradigm shift from putting people who are very old in such positions to a younger population, as is reflected by the population growth in Africa especially. And we notice that there are movements even in our neighboring Nigeria that has fostered and has been able to work to reduce the age for members of parliament and for presidents in Nigeria. The Not Too Young to Run movement has worked and has achieved a lot of success. And so I believe that it is not out of place for us to call on the government and also to call on decision makers and parliament to look into this once again.
They have led the country, and so it's important that if the future belongs to youth, the youth must be prepared now. And preparing now is giving them the opportunity now to go. Let them go and perform, commit the mistakes and errors, and let them learn.
Okay. Now, Nana Poku, I'm really glad that you joined us. You're a journalist, and you made an interesting comment during the program itself. You said that the youth sometimes they rush too much, and that sparked quite a lot of controversy and debate. Yeah. But Nana, I think what you were doing was you were sort of advising caution.
Yes.
Some sort of patience on the part of young people. But that struck me because the older generation in whom you seem to have more trust and faith, well, this is how far patience has got you. So why are you still advocating it when it really is not the solution to our problems?
Yeah, it is true. It's unfortunate that our leaders have not performed creditably well over the years. And so the youth have every reason to believe that they must be given a chance. But what I'm saying is that you must learn how to crawl before you walk. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be given a chance. In fact, as I said, strength is always in the mind, but not in the physical appearance. Somebody may be old, but very effective. Somebody may be very young, but very effective. So what I'm saying is you have to blend. So to get a good blend. If you talk to the old footballers, they say they play the match with dedication and commitment. But if you say because you should be given the lead role, fine, I don't have any problem with that. But can you do the work? We have seen some youth in parliament. Some are performing, others are not. There are some old people in the parliament, some are performing, others are not. But I think there's been a deliberate policy by the political parties themselves, where they have to set up a youth wing that must train some people to talk about, because now it is voluntary. When you go there and you're able to come out on your own, that is it. But not a deliberate policy that, oh, okay, we are going to give us 10%, and I want people to note this down. Every party must give, say, 10 or 5% the youth, so that when you are going to vote for them, this number of people must necessarily be made parliamentarians. So the policy will be there. Then they'll be climbing up.
So some sort of affirmative action for young people.
And don't forget, it's not going to be easy, because in this country, our culture, our tradition, our religious beliefs and things like that always play a role in whatever we do in life.
If any of these young people who were here today came to you and said, look, I want to run for office in one of these two parties that's about to do a primary, but I don't know where to start, I don't know how to do it, and I'm worried about all the obstacles that you were talking about that are ahead of me. Tell me how you would advise such a person. What would you tell such a person, make them feel equipped to go ahead? Okay, so the first advice I would give to them is that they are not too young to run. They are not too young to influence change in their country. And most importantly, maturity is not an age. I understand where my father here is coming from, but we also understand that and appreciate the fact that in the times that we live in today, people are really open-minded. Young people have gone faster in education than the older generation did. And so there are some things that at our age you didn't know, but at our age, due to the age and time in which we live in, we are privy to such information. So that's the first thing I would tell them. The next thing I would tell them is that, as Prof said, we at Youth Bridge Foundation, we are ready to help them in whichever way that we can, be it mentoring, be it sensitizing them. And that actually starts with the fact that they should know where and who to go to for mentorship, and understand that in as much as you want to run, there are ways that you need to do it. So you need someone who has walked that walk to be able to shape you and tell you this